Welcome in. The family of a missing Peabody interim city clerk confident that the body located in a crash pickup near Newton is that of Jonathan Clayton. Clayton reported missing weeks ago after questions arose about his handling of grant documents for Peabody's Main Street. The town's mayor tells Factfinder investigator Brandon Stitt the city will pull through.
Did he take off? Did he get in an accident? Did he commit suicide? Did somebody hurt him?
Those questions being asked for weeks after the August 3rd disappearance of Peabody's interim city clerk, Jonathan Clayton, baffled the small town, including Mayor Catherine Weems.
There's been a lot of drama surrounding his disappearance, but I have to tell you that the city is in good shape.
Some of that drama involved Clayton, who was also a former Department of Commerce employee. He helped Peabody's Main Street Association get a grant. Then questions started to surface about how that paperwork was handled.
They did send a letter to us, or to PMSA, saying that they were going to withdraw the grant.
Clayton never showed up for a meeting with PMSA, and he was reported missing by his husband later that day. Sunday afternoon, 3 weeks after he disappeared, a body was found in Clayton's crashed pickup near Newton. KBI still awaiting positive identification and a cause of death.
I know his identification was found in the vehicle, and so they're pretty confident that it was Jonathan.
Weems says the Department of Commerce is reviewing paperwork. So far, she says they're pleased, and she expects the Main Street Association to keep their grant.
We're missing his presence. We're missing his friendship. His family is missing him dearly. But as a community, we pull together and we just take the next step forward.
As Brandon Stitt, a dispute over transparency in connection with a story that has drawn national attention. The former Marion police chief is asking a judge to keep cameras out of the courtroom. Gideon Cody charged with obstruction of justice in the Marion County record raid, a low-level offense carrying a maximum sentence of about 2 years. People charged with those low-level offenses don't typically request that cameras not be allowed in a courtroom. The attorney representing the media, that includes us here at 12 News, that's Landon Vick, says a request for cameras to not be allowed is common in cases like death penalty cases, not obstruction cases. In fact, he says he's unaware of a case that's gone to the appellate courts where he said it was correct that a judge would exclude cameras, especially on publicity alone, which is why the former chief, Cody, is claiming his rights of a fair trial would be violated if cameras were there. But Vick says it's important that cameras be allowed inside court proceedings.
The public needs to see that what is happening in courtrooms and in proceedings where people are being submitted to punishment by the state, that is being done fairly and appropriately, so that there's no question that our system is working properly. And so, yes, the media wants to be able to cover these things, but the more important thing is for the public to be able to see them.
Vick says in the event the judge does accept Cody's request, the media likely wouldn't be able to appeal the ruling, and cameras would not be allowed in the courtroom at that point. An update to the murder of 93-year-old Augusta woman. This week, a judge denying our request to release the affidavit in the case of Joanne Johnson's murder. We requested that following the arrest of two 14-year-old girls earlier this month in connection to her murder. She was found in her home last year. KBI says those girls were just 13 at the time of the murder. The court says the request for an affidavit could potentially infringe on the suspect's rights to a fair trial. Wichita School Board greenlighting a blueprint directing the district's future. We've been telling you about this big facility master plan since it was introduced earlier this summer, calling for rebuilding some schools and closing more. Factfinder reporter Sean Logging has the latest.
With declining enrollment and aging buildings, Wichita Schools getting a roadmap for its future footprint.
Without a plan, then all schools are in danger for future budget cuts, and we don't want to approach it that way this time.
The Wichita School Board Monday night approved the district's facility master plan.
Keep our commitment to the high-performing neighborhood schools. This is not about just new buildings. This is about combining our current inventory.
7 schools will see new buildings, with other buildings seeing additions or repurposed. 7 buildings are to close, 4 schools and 3 alternative schools or special program schools. 2 admin centers will also close. This will result in the consolidation and merging of programs. Board President Stan Reeser says this is being paired with improving academic outcomes.
We need to do a lot of updating in our classrooms. The 700-square foot classroom no longer works. for improving student outcomes.
Research says this would reduce the $1.2 billion in deferred maintenance by about $200 million. Buildings like Adams and Coleman, slated for new buildings, each has more than $12 million in deferred maintenance.
Things that are called in now may take 2 or 3 days to fix, unless it's a major emergency, or, a week's.
But it still needs to be funded. The first step of the plan costs $450 million. To fund something this large in the span of years, not decades, likely means a bond.
Kansas is kind of a unique situation where when schools need to bank the investment, then they really have to look for the voters to approve a bond.
The board's expected to talk about the issue of a bond during its next meeting. That's September 9th. If approved, it could go to voters then in the